everyone is currently aware of big data to some extent or other, and they think of it in terms of Hadoop and the Hadoop ecosystem, and that equals big data. It doesn't equal a data lake, though. There's a lot more needed to support that ecosystem of use cases, and the technology that we believe needs to be brought in to make that possible has a lot to do with things like metadata management. So how are you going to know what all that data is, track all that data, make it findable and usable to prevent us from getting to a polluted data lake, or a data lake that becomes unusable. Beyond the metadata, we need to control all the processing and track it inside of the data lake. So every workflow or processing sequence that's done needs to have lineage attached to it and needs to be linked into that metadata. The idea of lineage is to track for any piece of data what processing was done on it and what new data did it produce. So it's classically handled by existing metadata tools, but not in the big data context and not dealing with the complexity and the variety of data that we're going to see in a data lake. Now all of this processing and metadata needs to exist in a secure context so that people can safely control access to that data and the processing, that multiple units within an enterprise can share the single data lake, that the use can be both fair and safe, so no one dominates and takes up all the processing, or no one accesses things that they aren't entitled to see. Once you have all of these metadata processing features in place, not being able to find the things that you've worked so hard to put there is a huge problem. I love the phrase that if you can't find it, it doesn't exist. So we need to put a search infrastructure in place seamlessly across all of these features. With search in place and the ability to access this data, you can start to do things like create analytic sandboxes or work areas. So for example, you might search across that data in the lake, pick certain elements, create a work area for you, potentially doing specialized processing to make that data unified and usable for you as you wanted to work in that sandbox. What we overlay on a solution like this is something we refer to as a datapedia. And what that means is we've got the ontology linking together all the concepts in the data, and we combine that with active participation from the community of people using and working on this data. So they might almost crowdsource additional metadata about the content. So they'll help us to understand what was the quality of that data, how often was it used, why did they use it, and then surface all that together with the information from the data as a part of the search results, so that you can sort of browse around, pick what you want, and flow it right into that model of shopping cart provisioning out to your private work area.